Well, when people think about giving plants for Christmas, they usually think of poinsettias. But there are actually several different plants that make very good Christmas gifts. And one of the other plants that people think about a lot are the Christmas or holiday cactus. These make beautiful Christmas gifts, and they come in a nice variety of colors now. And this is a nice dark pink, almost red color, and then the white. And these would dress up very nicely for Christmas. Now, one thing to think about when you get plants like this, the first thing that you want to do when you get them home, or if you receive them as a gift, is to take them out of this protective plastic sleeve, because what happens is people will water these, leave them in this sleeve, and water will collect in the bottom, and the plant will basically sit in a puddle of water all the time. So if you want to leave them in something like this, then either water it, let it all drain out, and put it back in, or put some holes in the bottom and place it in a dish so you don't have a plant sitting in water. Now, Christmas cactus like a very warm environment, over 70 degrees, so they're a good plant for indoors in the wintertime. They do like high humidity, especially while they're blooming. So you want to keep them in a spot that's warm, has high humidity, and you want to water them very regularly, all while they're blooming. Now, once they're finished blooming, you're going to want to let them go into a rest or dormant period. So you want to hold back on the water, let them dry out, and just water them very sparingly for about 8 weeks. And then along in the spring, they'll start to show some new growth, and you can start watering those again, and you can start fertilizing them about every couple of weeks with some dilute fertilizer solution. Now, Christmas cactus like it very well if you can find a spot outdoors in the summer in a kind of a bright, shady spot, and let them grow all through the summer, and then bring them in before the temperatures get cold in the winter again. So these work very well as a Christmas gift, and they come in a wonderful variety of colors now. Now, a plant that you may not think of quite as much, but make a beautiful Christmas plant, are the cyclamen. Cyclamen are absolutely gorgeous, and you can tell here they dress up very nicely in Christmas colors. Now here I've got a white cyclamen. I've put it in a red basket, and it just is a nice Christmas combination here with the dark green, the white, and the red. And if you put just a little bit of Spanish moss around the pot, that will work really well. Now over here I've got the red cyclamen. Again, we've got the red and green, and I put it in a lighter basket, and that really sets off that color real well. And then I've dressed it up with a Christmas bow. And this just makes a very nice Christmas present. Now with cyclamen, they like cooler temperatures. Actually, temperatures around 55 to 60 are very good for them, and they like bright filtered light. So if you could find an east window somewhere, that would be very good spot to put your cyclamen. The other thing about cyclamen is you want to water them from the bottom. And if we look right here, I'll show you why. Cyclamen actually grow out of a corm, and if you can see down here, you see the corm. If you water this from the top, that can cause rot on that corm. So what you want to do is take these out and set them in a dish of water, let them absorb the water, and then put them back in the basket. Now you don't want to let them sit in water all of the time, but just about an hour or so to absorb the water. And the other thing is you actually want to let these dry down fairly well between waterings, because otherwise you will again promote rot with that corm. Now another plant that we see a lot, a flowering plant, but you don't think about giving for Christmas, are the mums. And actually florist mums, the white ones, you can dress them up and they can look very beautiful for Christmas. Here we've got some actual silk poinsettias that we've put in here, and some Christmas balls, and this makes it look very nice. Now the trick to keeping your mums looking nice for a longer period is to keep them in a cooler location. They need some bright filtered light, and you need to keep them moist at all times. Now I want to show you something. The way florist mums are put in a pot, there are actually several plants in the pot. You can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants in this pot. So if you think about it, this pot is absolutely full of roots. So it's going to take a lot of water to keep this plant going, and that's why you need to water these a lot, because there's a lot of roots in that pot. That'll help your blooms stay nice longer, and it'll provide you a lot of enjoyment over the Christmas season. Now another plant that people don't think about at Christmas time, but the azaleas make very beautiful Christmas presents. And here we've got the kind of a whitish pink, and again we could put these in a basket or a nice pot dress them up with some bows or some ribbon and make them look very Christmas-like because they have the dark green foliage, and with the nice white flowers, they will look beautiful. Now these are again one that you want to keep moist at all times, and you want to have them in a location that has some bright light to it. Not direct sunlight, but a lot of hours of bright light, and that will help those blooms go ahead and open up for you. Also, if you can keep them in a kind of cooler area, that will work really well too. Now you want to let these go ahead and bloom, and then once they're finished blooming, go ahead and fertilize those with an acid type fertilizer like miracid or something like that, and keep those. Now the azaleas that are used for florist azaleas aren't the kind that are winter hardy here, so you're probably not going to be successful if you want to transfer these out into your landscape. However, you could move them out for the summertime in a shady spot and then bring them back in the winter and really get a lot of enjoyment out of them. Well, I've showed you some of the flowering plants that are good for Christmas gifts, but also there are some great foliage plants that can work as Christmas gifts. Now, a couple that we don't think about giving for Christmas would be the dumb cane here, and also the peace lily. Now, these two are both very good houseplants. They're very low maintenance, and if you notice here, I've just dropped this into a Christmas looking hat, and it looks nice with the green foliage, and we've put a little bit of Spanish moss around it. I could put some Christmas balls in here, and that way it would dress it up for Christmas, and then after Christmas the person could remove all of that, put it in another pot, and they would have a nice house plant. Now this peace lily has wonderful green foliage, and they're very easy to take care of. The nice thing about these are it's a good plant for a low light situation. So if a person doesn't have a lot of light inside, this is a good plant for that. The one thing that peace lilies don't like is they don't like very dry air. So don't put it in the path of your heat register or something like that, because that will cause the leaves to go ahead and shrivel on you. Now this dumb cane is actually a specific variety. This is called camellia, and it is a shorter one. So this dumb cane only gets a maximum of about 15 inches tall. So it's a nice compact plant, and it makes a very nice house plant. It's a very low maintenance. And again, you can see here we've got the white and the green foliage. So if you dress it up with some red, you've got a nice Christmas combination here. Now this plant doesn't take a whole lot of care, and it's another plant that can take lower light. Now you want to water this sparingly during the winter months, and you want to use tepid water. Don't use very cold or very hot water to give it some chilling injury. Now, one of the classic Christmas plants that people use now is the Norfolk Island pine, because people like to use this as a miniature Christmas tree. And this is a wonderful Christmas gift that people can keep in their home. And they actually sell a lot of small decorations now that you can decorate this up like you would a Christmas tree. Now, even though this is, common name of this is a Norfolk Island pine, it's not a pine, and it's actually from an island in the South Pacific, Norfolk Island to be exact. And so that means it's a tropical plant. Now, it likes high humidity, and it doesn't like cold temperatures. So anything lower than about 55 degrees can injure this. However, you don't want it to be in a very hot environment either. What this plant likes is high humidity and just a nice warm environment. You can do some things for your Norfolk Island pine. If you mist it about every 3 days, or put it in a grouping where the humidity is higher, that will help it a lot. Also, if you notice that the needles are turning yellow and starting to fall off, it's probably an indicator that you have it in either too warm or too dry of a location, so you'll want to move that. And keep your plant away from heat registers or any other heat source, and also put it in a situation where it's got some bright filtered light, and that will keep it the happiest. So this can be a wonderful plant year-round. Now, one final plant that we have that makes a great Christmas gift is the rosemary. Now, rosemary, if you can find one that's taller and dress it up with a few red bows, it looks much like a small Christmas tree, and this makes a great gift for any of those friends that like herbs, and it also has a wonderful smell in the home in the winter. Now, they can put this in the windowsill during the winter and then plant it out in their garden next spring and get year-round enjoyment from this plant. Well, these are just a few of the plants that make great Christmas gifts that aren't poinsettias, and we would like to take the time right now to thank Masson's Greenhouse. Now, one final reminder, these plants are not winter hardy, and if you buy this plant and run to your car with it and the temperatures are below freezing, you're going to damage the plant before you've ever had a chance to enjoy it. So make sure that these are covered and don't leave them in your car while you're doing your shopping. You're going to want to keep them in an environment that's at least 50 degrees or above. Well, while we're talking about plants as Christmas gifts, there's one other thing that you might want to do, and that is to give someone a bulb and a forcing glass for Christmas. Now, these are wonderful glasses that are made specifically to force bulbs, and you can see how there's a water reservoir down here, and then it's very narrow at the top, and then we can put our bulb in the top here. Now, this is a hyacinth bulb, and you can buy these that are already pre-cooled, so they're prepared to put right in here and start to force. Now, basically what forcing is bringing a plant into flower before it normally would do that. What we want to do to force this is fill this with water, and you'll notice down here in the bottom I've got just a little bit of charcoal. Now, this is just charcoal that you might use for your aquarium, and that will help the water from getting kind of stale or gunky and smelling bad on you. Just put that at the bottom and then fill this to just below where the bulb is sitting. You do not want the bulb to sit in the water because that will cause the bulb to rot. But just about 1/4 of an inch below, set your bulb on top and then put this in a dark, cool area and let it start to grow. Now, this has been in here for 1 week now, and you'll notice we've already got a lot of roots. Now, the roots the bulb wasn't touching the water at first, but the roots just go down towards the water and they start to grow. Now, I'm going to want to keep this in the dark until I see about 2 inches of growth on the top, and then I'll bring it out into the light and let it go ahead and grow and bloom. Now, this takes altogether about 8 to 10 weeks to get your final bloom, and you'll have that wonderful hyacinth smell in your house. Now, this is a wonderful Christmas gift that someone can enjoy all through the winter.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.